Man.
That was fucking Mortis Skull. Then I played more of that. I did not have it clipped, so I had to just do a quick fade on the fly.
Right.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was badass, though. Mortis Skull, fucking killer from Milwaukee. Great band. I just did a review of their album that's coming out. It just came out. It's amazing. So go check them out. Mortis Skull. Definitely like
That
those
was
guys.
soul piercing sorrow. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, soul piercing sorrow. So yeah, it's a good track, and we got Collin here still with us, surviving, ready to talk about some murdering.
Yes, we are.
And tonight we're going to be talking about a case that most likely will be new to a lot of our listeners. Going back to the UK for a serial killer. They called him the Devil's Disciple. They called him Psychopath. Both killer fucking nicknames. But we're talking about Patrick Mackay.
I prefer Devil's Disciple.
I like that one too. I like it. His murders went down, though, from 1974 to 75, so he was only active for a short period of time. Convicted of 3 murders, but they were brutal as hell, and he admitted to others, and we're going to talk about it, but the police believe, upwards of maybe 11, and we're going to get into it tonight, and definitely ready for this one. And Collin, I mean, what was it about Patrick Mackay? I gave you some options, and you picked this one.
Yeah. Well, I think it was mostly I had never heard of him. Had no idea about it, and it looked like there was a good amount of information, so I could learn about it, and just thought that'd be a great one to do.
Yeah,
dude.
Definitely
That's
an interesting case, Chris, but it's obscure, and I don't know what it is. We seem to kind of thrive at digging out the info on these ones that might be tough.
Well, that's kind of like when we first started. That's what we basically want to do. And as Collin just said, he listens to the podcast. He's like, oh, wait, who's that? He wants, and it's cool to fucking help people find new subjects that they've never heard about. So,
Right.
I'm down with that. So, hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Joey, I think this is a case most people aren't going to know about, but talking about some pretty brutal shit with this dude.
Yeah, this is a pretty good one right here. Excited to talk about it. I was talking to Mike, my buddy.
Yeah.
He said he listened to our Fritz Honka episode,
Right.
and he had never heard of him.
Oh, no.
And he was like, that was cool because I hadn't heard of him, and I was like, that's what I feel like tonight's is. Patrick Mackay is kind of like, he's a classic case, but he's highly unheard of.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know who he was either.
I just think because coming out of the UK, the time period that it did, the story didn't gain much traction. But man, there's plenty for us to talk about tonight. Y'all are gonna hear it.
Yeah, I agree, dude. There is a lot to talk about with this dude. I had never heard of him either, and it came up in my YouTube suggested videos, and I thought it was a good one for us. He's been on the list for a little while, and I just, for whatever reason, wanted to bust it out. Did some horrific shit, and we're going to talk about it tonight. And also, the way his name is spelled, it might look like Mackay, but it's Mackay is how they say it. So
I've always wondered if it was just like the British accent. It's Mackay.
Oh, that could be too. I don't know. But he was born in 1952 in London, England. The oldest child. He had 2 younger sisters, raised in a kind of classic 2-parent household. Dad was an accountant. He fought in the Second World War. His mom was of Creole descent, originally from Guyana. So I think that mixture of race issues seemed to really fuck with him. We're going to talk about that.
Creole.
That's right. I didn't think about that. Maybe that was a descendant of old Creole.
Because of Patrick, that's why Jim Jones went to Guyana.
Hey, that's interesting. That's interesting. But Collin, unfortunately, I mean, we talk about abuse in the home a lot on this, and this dude was subjected to some pretty brutal shit, man.
Yeah, he was. He, with his dad being in World War II, he had some big-time PTSD, so he drank to help deal with that, and when he would get home, he would take out his frustration on Patrick's mom and him. They they said they had 2 sisters.
Yeah.
Never touched them. But,
Right.
Yeah, that's fucking.
But yeah, so that really, I think, molded him, shaped him, because you learn everything when you're little, and that's when that's what happens.
Yeah.
I think it seems normal to you.
Yeah, it's just like it just keeps perpetuating, because it's like you do what you see, and then you do it, and it's just this horrible cycle.
Going.
Yeah, it's
Domino
terrible.
effect.
And it kind of sounded like in England back then, wouldn't say it was normal, but abuse to women from their spouses was sadly kind of regular.
Yeah, and I think after World War II, you pointed out the PTSD issue. I mean, there was a lot of dudes coming back with PTSD, and
Shell
alcohol.
shock.
You put alcohol on top of that, or drugs and alcohol, and it can get pretty bad.
They pretty much had no
Come home and fucking kick the wife and slap the dog.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Kill your mother, rape your dog.
Yeah, there was a band from Connecticut that was just fucking like the Mentors kind of stuff.
Right.
And this dude, Billy, that was the main dude in the band. They used to have a song called Yakety. They did the Yakety Yak, but it was Lick My Sack. And it was all kick the dog and put out the cat. Yakety Yak. You guys were saying that. It made me think of that Connecticut White Bread song. Yeah. Yeah, they had a T-shirt that had on the back of it in like really big letters, "Your chin is my ball rest."
Right.
Yeah, it was so brutal, Joey. If you don't familiar with it, go check that out. But I think you would dig it. But his father, also talked about his war experiences with Patrick when he was young, so this fascinated him. And he would recall hearing the stories, and these beatings that he took.
All
and
mixed
it was
together.
Yeah, like this perfect storm, especially, the violence against the mother as well. And, poverty also was a thing that, anybody that's in that's not going to like it. But this really fucked with him. And he really despised, feeling like he wasn't as worthy as other people. And Chris, I mean, they said he's not doing well in school.
Yeah, they call him the little terrorist. Like, already that young, and you're like out there causing mayhem, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
that's like a Shawback type.
Hey, man, I did some fucked up shit in school, man. I ain't gonna lie. I fucking goddamn had to go down to the principal's office one time when I was in 6th grade. I literally fucking looked at I don't even know why, dude. I looked at my 6th grade teacher walking out the door. I was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna kill you!" And then I skated my skateboard all the way through the school, and then fucking.
Oh wow!
Guess what? I was thrown out of school for the rest of the year.
Wow! Yeah, I was gonna say if that was a few years later, they'd have definitely locked your ass up. But
that happened though.
But this sort of thing is common with these killers we talk about. I mean, they start out doing the small petty stuff, and they come from a fucked up home situation. So like Joey's saying, this guy's kind of like the classic violence on a regular basis. He's taught that that's okay, and to treat people like that, and also the violence against women. But Joey, I think, growing up like that would definitely make him fucking want to fucking lash out, right?
And everything about this guy seemed like he wanted to lash out, like
right?
For real.
From the get go, this guy was on a fucking, gung ho path to fucking cause mischief, be a dickhead, fucking commit crime.
Right.
And he did all of the above, basically.
Yeah, definitely a messed up individual, as we're going to find out. So at the age of 10, Patrick's dad dies suddenly of a heart attack, direct cause of that alcoholism. His last words to Patrick.
I'm tired of these stories
about
and
the alcoholics.
Whole motherfuckers dying because of alcoholism. That's some bullshit.
It's just a weak heart.
Right, that's it.
There you go. But his last words to Patrick were, "Remember to be good."
That's fucked up.
That is.
Yeah.
Those are the last words?
Right. Unfortunately, young Patrick Mackay would say, "Fuck that! I'm not going to be good," and would continue to be the little fucking terrorist. Except now he's about to enter his teen years, and hormones are fucking raging, making him even more of a fucking ticking time bomb. And Collin, the loss of his dad, definitely had an effect on this dude. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, it had to. I mean, he would lie to others and tell them you're still alive.
That was fucked up.
Yeah, just like it didn't happen. He kept a picture with him always. So, I mean, obviously, even though it was rough, he really missed him. You know, so it definitely messed with him.
Yeah. Not being able to go to the funeral.
Yeah, what was the deal with his mom?
I don't know.
I would guess. I didn't read much about it, but I'd have to guess. You know, it was probably, well, moms know things, and she probably saw what was going on with him. And I would say she did it more to kind of protect him because, you know, he might just go off the deep end if
that's a good point. That makes sense.
Final.
That makes sense.
It was in Scotland too.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I seen that. It was in Scotland, so it was far away.
Right.
But not having to get that closure and shit though.
Yeah, so it's kind of a double-edged sword there for sure. So his mom didn't want him to go. So now Patrick is assuming the father figure in the family, and now he's dishing out the beatings, and he's beating his mom and the little sisters, so they don't escape.
The sisters ain't safe no more.
Fuck no. God damn. He takes up drinking, so following in Dad's footsteps. Anyone sits in his chair, he's raging the fuck out, and the cycle fucking perpetuates, right? Like it does so often with these. But in 1967, his mom moved the family to Gravesend. That is such a cool fucking name.
Perfect place.
A cool name, but it didn't help matters at all, because in Gravesend, there's issues with crime, rampant poverty, project-like homes, just not good. Police coming out to the house as much as 4 times a week.
Yes.
Due to all the violence and the drama. And they talked to those neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
And they were just like, what the hell, These people were telling stories of the cops, and
they were terrified of him.
They were. I mean, it was like, call the kids and get them in the house, because Patrick's going fucking apeshit because Sally sat in his fucking chair, for Christ's sake. Jesus Christ. But the cops were taking him in, and it involved him to getting in the police car. I mean, just drama. The sisters are hiding up on the fucking roof. I mean,
you ain't gonna get crazy. How fucked up is that? You're fucking got to get on the roof of your house to get away from your brother, because he's gonna beat the shit out of you.
Exactly. So Chris, I mean, he's throwing these like temper tantrums.
Yeah, he's like acting like a fucking toddler, dude, and he's like in his teens. And there was I can't remember the kid's name, but there was another kid, a kid that he tried to kill when he was in his teenage years.
Right.
But then some people came in and they're like, no, you gotta fucking quit that. But in the future, he says that if he had the time, he would have killed that kid. If he didn't get stopped, he would have killed that kid.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Yeah, so
right on,
and a lot of these killers though, they're starting this shit in their teens. Now Joey's 15 years old. And he's officially diagnosed a psychopath. So this doesn't sound good.
No, and back then, if you're calling somebody a psychopath, you're basically saying this dude's a fucking throwaway to society. He's never going to be a productive member or any good. Also, they didn't have anybody to watch out for the people after they were marked as psychopaths. You know what I'm saying? They just got... Yeah, they're back in society. Nobody knows anything from Adam.
Right.
Technology and fucking communication is fucking way different than it is now.
Right.
So he's just out there on the fucking streets, man. They needed to fucking keep an eye on this dude somehow, some way.
Right. But that telltale sign of the psychopath, no emotion, no feelings, that's a horrible thing to have with a violent streak. You know what I mean? So very, very fucked up. He's a very good liar. Collin had mentioned that earlier. Another thing that we see a lot with the psychopaths, think about guys like Gacy, Bundy, BTK, acting completely normal 1 minute, strangling you the fucking next.
Not giving a shit when they're done.
And not giving a fuck, exactly. I read that on 18 different occasions he was taken out of the home between the ages of 12 and 22, which is just nuts. They put him in various institutions, reform schools, and even juvenile prisons.
Yeah.
And one of his teachers said he had the potential to grow up to be a murderer of women. And so they just shuffle him from one place to the next, and it's just making the problem fucking worse. And the
They're
problem
not
is
helping him, like Joey said. They're just
no, and he's got mania with the psychopath diagnosis. He's also got mania, so he can hide it much easier, or without mania, so he can hide it much easier, which makes him that much more dangerous. He can blend in. He was actually very personable, which was even worse, like a Bundy.
Yeah, he talked to people with no
Yeah,
problems
he
and
could
shit.
talk to
Yeah.
people. And they learn how to act and hide, because they don't know how to show emotion. They have to watch people do it and learn it. And so they're literally like actors. There's like
Trying to
nothing
act normal.
true about what they're doing. It's fucking crazy. But Collin, I mean, these are some dire predictions for a kid, man.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing was he was so good at hiding it that when people diagnose him, he could just like totally shut that off.
Right.
And they could,
Right.
he'd fool them basically. And
Right.
it's like, okay, he's all right. I mean, he hasn't shown any signs of anything. So we probably, there's probably hundreds of these kids and they don't have the manpower to do it.
Right.
So they, just send him back. He's okay.
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
gonna
you
be
hear-
clear him go.
Yeah, I mean, I hear from people, my daughter's in this business of, kids and trauma and this sort of thing. And, all I hear about is how underfunded it is and they have nowhere to put these kids, like the ones that kind of slip through the cracks, like a guy like this.
Right.
And he definitely did that. And the system just, doesn't know what to do. And he's just got all kinds of time to just run around and run the streets, basically.
And then being in the 70s too,
Right.
everything was so under advanced. They had no idea with a lot of these problems a kid, they've studied and diagnosed. Nowadays they probably just didn't even.
He was probably just tripping balls, man. Acid in the 70s, bro.
Very possible. It's very possible. But we're in 1968. He's admitted to the Moss Side Hospital in Liverpool, diagnosed again as a psychopath, so double psychopath. Released 4 years later in 1972. But these people, that release patients like this dude, I've always said they need to fucking release them in their neighborhood. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
take
It's
them
real
to my-
nice that
they'll
you
be-
say this person is safe to be out in society.
Let 'em go in
you
your
know
gated
you're in a
community.
fucking gated community.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're not going to be anywhere near this motherfucker. But let's let him move in your town and where you're at and see if you fucking want to have your grandkids out playing in the yard. I mean, I get it that these people need to have some sort of chance, but at the same time, a dude like this, I mean, everybody said he was destined to murder people. I mean,
Right.
fuck.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, this is a
And he's
bad
already
fuck-
tried to do it. He just got stopped.
Yeah,
So, like,
this is a very fucking bad individual. So, man, this is crazy. And he made friends with a couple of boys, the Cowdery brothers. They were about his age, spent a lot of time with them and their family. Kind of weird. He kind of adopted them as his own family, that he referred to the dad as Mr. Father and the woman as Mrs. Mother,
that'd be fucking weird to say
which
to
is
somebody,
fucking
dude.
weird. They told him to stop it,
I'm
like,
gonna.
you're creeping
next
us
time I
the
go
fuck
over to
out,
Mom
dude.
and- Next time I go to Mom and Dad's, I'm gonna be like, Mr. Father, Mrs. Mother, how are you today?
Yeah. I think I'd be telling my kids, that Patrick did. Yeah, no, he's not coming over. I
not
don't
a
give a
chance.
fuck. I don't give a fuck. So Chris, now this Mackay is an adult and not getting
dude,
any better. Dude.
You know what he's fucking down with now? He loves
of course.
Nazis.
Yeah,
That's
let's add
good
that to the
time,
mixture,
dude.
man.
Good time. Fucking
What the
changes
fuck?
his name to Mr. Franklin Bolvolt the First.
Yeah,
Like, so I am number one. I will have more. You can't. But yeah, he's
Yeah.
got this homemade Nazi fucking uniform.
What
Like
a
homemade.
fucking idiot.
Like he had black tape swastika on
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah.
He's got fucking electrical tape on the sleeve of his shit.
Yeah.
fucking,
Totally
like,
ghetto, man.
right.
What a fucking idiot, though. He's
Yeah.
got all this memorabilia all over the fucking apartment he's got there in London.
And he's not even completely white.
Yeah, it's just really weird. And you almost wonder if that's why he got all crazy with that, to kind of make it up, because he had that Creole blood in him. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, it's weird. I don't know if that was the case. I just wonder if that was
It is so-
part of his obsession with Nazis and all this shit he wore and acted. And like I said, Franklin Bolvolt the First. I mean,
You go around wearing fucking a Nazi. Yeah, but you're walking around wearing a homemade ghetto ass Nazi. Man, try and be authentic, bro. Fuck. But yeah, then he's like, if he was in charge, he'd fucking kill all the useless old people.
Right.
So, I mean, thinking maybe, hence, this is why he attacked who he attacked.
Apparently.
It had to be.
Yeah. So, definitely weird with that mixed race background, and if it played in anything with this crazy Nazi shit. But he tried to speak with a German accent too. That was ridiculous.
Oh man!
And
it turns out just like mine.
Right? He would goose step in jack boots out in the streets.
That's so fucking weird.
This dude is whack. And he was like 6'2" and a pretty big dude, so that's pretty fucked up. This dude's acting all crazy like that. So Joey, I mean, we've seen this before with the fucking Nazi obsession, but he's adding more to the mix beyond this. What's going on now?
Yeah, I mean, the motherfucker's crazy. He's got mental health issues. He's alcoholic. I'm sure he's fucking, doing drugs back then.
Right.
The Nazi thing, I mean, if you hate people and you want to kill people, I mean, who else are you going to fucking look up to, I guess, back then,
Right.
Like, they were doing all kinds of killing and hating, so fucking... Right. If that's how he was identifying, then fuck yeah, but that's fucking crazy as shit.
It is. But then he got into something that you and I both big fans of.
Yeah, he fucking loved The Exorcist. When that movie came out,
God.
he fucking went fucking gung-ho for that
Yeah,
shit.
he kind of equated like the whole Exorcist, like the demon, like his other side. It was like he had like this real connection with the movie too, which was kind of creepy, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, but I think he would have been a metalhead, or maybe a punk.
Yeah,
maybe a punk. I mean, he was a little bit before after his time, but
UK, the punk.
would have been
they
punk.
love punk over there.
So he's hanging out in these rich areas of London, like Chelsea and Knightsbridge, where there's a lot of fucking robberies, though, purse snatches, and this sort of shit. So, I wonder who's doing this.
Couldn't even begin to tell you, but nobody fucking knows that it's him though. Like,
exactly, because
he
he's
just
not
keeps
from
on
there.
going.
Yeah, and he knows where to strike. The rich women loving the shopping and all that stuff. Got all kinds of money on him. He's a big dude, like I said. He's like 6'2", and he's preying upon the weak and bouncing in these various fucking hostels and staying wherever he can.
He's pretty fucking hostile.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, Collin, now the murders begin. So what's happening here on Valentine's Day of 74?
Well, he kind of befriends Isabella Griffiths and works his way into her house, and he ends up beating her and stabbing her.
Yeah, she's 84. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a weird one because he stabbed her. That's pretty much what killed her. Originally, he thought the knife went through and stuck in the floor, but apparently it was her... I think it was her shoulder blade the knife actually stuck in, but he, after she dies, he ends up crossing her arms like an undertaker would do, and he covered her in a bunch of clothes.
That's fucking nuts.
And the medical examiners the police didn't actually even notice the stab wound until he got back to the morgue because all those clothes already covered it up. So
yeah, that's fucking weird though, dude. This dude's doing so much weird shit. And in between the murders, he's still robbing, stealing, doing that sort of thing just to survive. And on sheer luck that more women didn't die from this dude. I mean, seriously. One robbery victim was forced to make him tea, and he sat with her for an hour before leaving. I mean, this is sounding like those brothers. What was the one we just did with Izzy? The Burke, or the
goddamn motherfucking dudes at the fucking hole.
Yeah, exactly.
Cave.
Those dudes. That's what this is reminding me of. Is those dudes just doing some crazy shit, for sure. But the making him tea, like the lady make me some beans or whatever. She
my shit.
After he beat the shit out of her husband almost to death. Now, Chris, he waits 13 months though.
Oh yeah, he does. But he
Maybe
strikes
that's
again.
what we know of.
Yeah. I mean, a year and a month. You're good, dude. You're good. You deserve another. But yeah, it's 1975 and fucking this old lady. She's 89 years old, dude. 89.
That's fucked up, man.
Yeah, big time.
There
And,
should be a special fucking place in hell for some motherfucker like that. That's awful.
Yeah, she had he had carried her fucking groceries home for her one time, or whatever. So that way he can get a tip, get a little fucking money, a little scratch, fucking
Right.
get her done. And then a few days later, or whatever, he shows up at her house and he's like, "Hey," he knocks on the door, but she opens the door and like doesn't open it all the way, like doesn't let him in. It's got the chain or whatever, and she doesn't need it. She's like, "No, I'm all right." And he gets pissed off and just kicks the door in, and then he fucking strangles her, fucking apparently with his weak hand. He has his left hand was his weak hand. You need to use that. When you're jerking off, you gotta switch it, bro. You gotta switch it. But yeah, so he's strangling, choking her out with his fucking left hand, and then takes a knife, fucking drives into her fucking sternum with the other hand, and I think that's the one that pinned her to the floor, right? It
Yeah,
was like,
I think I got him crossed up. But there was one victim he pinned to the floor with the knife, but it was actually her shoulder blade. But the other one he didn't do that with, and I think I got him crossed up.
He was all about that shit with the fucking that. I used my weekend. It's like
Yeah, what was that movie? With,
Yeah, fucking scary movies like
Scary movie.
Take my strong hand.
Yeah. Dude,
That's what it reminded me of too. Oh, I love that
damn,
shit.
bro.
Turn
Yeah.
the potatoes.
But, you know, he would brag to the cops later that he used
I
his
used my
weak.
strong hand.
Fuck this dude, man. Whatever. What a fucking
That's
asshole.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, this guy's just so
Not
fucking,
awesome, but Jesus.
this guy's just so cocky. But he's brutal as fucking hell. And with these murders, you know, he hung around the house for a while after he's done. So crazy. And the second one, he fell asleep and took a nap.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I mean, how are you taking a nap after doing that? Only to be awakened by the victim's granddaughter, who was there to see her buzzing in to get in.
He bounces
He
right
fucking
past her.
bolts. Yeah, runs right down the stairs right by her. She doesn't know who he is. She assumes he's another tenant. And yeah, boom, he's gone. And she goes in there and finds her fucking, you know, grandmother. I mean, that's horrible.
Ted Bundy, remember? He flew past that girl
That's right.
out the sorority
yeah,
house,
yeah.
and she thought it was just a
That's
dude.
right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Good catch on that one, Joey. But yeah, he manages to escape, and he passed the girl on the way out, which is nuts. He was all about the control, though, and you know, he didn't have control as a child in those formative years, as we pointed out, and so he's playing God and controlling other people's fucking lives, and it's fucked up. So Joey, I mean, so many serial killers are all about the control thing. What do you think it is there, dude?
I mean, you would think that for most of them, it's because a lot of them haven't had control in their life, like haven't had control over anything, over their own mind, shit that's going on.
Right.
Whenever I was doing the research for this one, it got me thinking about the, you know, especially this question. But there's like two types of people, you know. As far as killers go, there's ones that, you know, have some kind of trauma that go on, and they're all fucked up, and it makes them want to act out and hurt other people. And, you know, I feel like that's the way it is with like Dahmer and shit. But then there's another kind of killer that's just out there because they fucking enjoy doing that shit, and they want to fucking hurt people. And those people have two different mindsets, I gotta believe, you know.
Right.
So they're doing the same shit, but they're coming from two different angles. I feel like Israel Keys, he's probably the latter, you know.
Right.
Kind of an example of
Yeah,
that.
that
But,
would be a good example of it.
I think it's almost, I don't know which is worse, because somebody that fucking has a pure hatred and, you know, a fucking trauma in their background or whatever, they're going to come out, and that's going to be a scary situation because they're going to want to cause pain on a motherfucker. But also somebody that just enjoys inflicting pain,
Sure.
and you know, David Parker
feel like,
Ray. I mean, I was trying to think of which would be scarier to be a victim of, I
Right.
guess is where I'm coming from.
Wow. Yeah, that's a horrifying fucking thought, actually. So
Yeah,
now the
yeah.
police are starting to put the pieces together, and they're concerned these murders are linked. The victims are very similar, single, elderly, rich women. Mackay would see them shopping in these nice shops, knew they got money, follows them home and scouts it out, and he's either, you know, busting in or he's ingratiating himself into the house. Pretty fucked up, but he's really good at reading people and playing the normal, nice young man to this older lady. So Collin, I mean, now the brutal one of all comes in. This one was, I mean, they've all been nasty and sick, but this one was especially wicked. So how does this one go down?
Well, he befriends Father Anthony Crean, and the father was a bit of a drinker, so they would go to the pub and have some drinks and just kind of hang out and whatever, and they kind of became friends. But at one point he stole a check from him, and it was for $30, and he changed it to $80, and
Nice.
the father realized it and turned him into the police. So they,
Wait, he changed the check to say 80 instead of 40?
yeah, he filled in the. So he had realized it and called the police, and he was arrested for it. And he, after that point, he was supposed to pay it back, which he never did, and that kind of bothered the father. And so he came around one time and wanted to come in, and he wouldn't let him in. Well, he forced his way in, and just went crazy on him.
Yeah, he did.
Big time.
Really bad.
Started basically, it sounded like he's beating him with his forearm, and then he started. He had his knife with him. He stabbed him a bunch of times in the head and the neck. He stabbed him in the skull so hard he actually bent the knife.
Right.
And
This is a fucking steel knife.
I'm saying that's a cheap fucking knife.
Yeah, they had. I saw some pictures of it. It was.
I mean, I know the skull's hard, but
yeah.
you bent the knife? That's
Right.
a cheap ass knife.
Yeah. And then there was a hatchet that was under the stairs.
Yeah, they were calling it an axe, but I saw in the
Yeah.
pictures, I'm calling it more of a hatchet.
Yeah.
It had a short handle.
Yeah,
right?
it had a short handle on it, but it was nasty. I mean, don't get
And
me
that
wrong.
might be like a English.
Right?
It
right.
could
Where,
be.
you know.
It could be. I think
The
that's what
English
they
and
used.
the English.
Talking about Idaho 4 with the hatchet, I think that some of those murders were done with either a machete or a hatchet. But in looking at that weapon, I definitely could see the wounds that they were talking about being more tears than stabs.
up, yeah.
You know. So, but this is just nasty with this.
Yeah, and
fucking
they end up in
hatchet.
the bathroom, and he hits him, and he falls into the bathtub, and he's just beating him with that axe on the head. And then at that point, the father pretty much can't even control his body movements. He's just kind of
his brain was coming out.
they
Saw it
said
a
at one
couple
point
places that he reached
yeah,
up
and
he
felt
touched
it,
his
and he just
brain.
like he knew it was over at that point.
Yeah.
And so then he grabs a plug and throws it in the toilet in the bathtub.
Yes! Shit bag!
Swirly. And no, he throws it in the tub and fills the tub up and just lets him float there until I think after about an hour he finally dies.
Yeah. He was sitting there with your brain's leaking out of your skull. And, man,
And it, so much blood pouring out, it just looked like the tub was pretty much full of blood.
Yeah, that's
looking like the
fucked up.
goddamn hallways from goddamn Shining.
Yeah, I saw he enjoyed pushing him down and watching him float back up again. Like,
Yeah, I saw that too.
wow, that's fucking. He did
Also-
he does so many weird things, doesn't he, Joey? I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
Wasn't he also talking about how he thought it was beautiful, how he was wearing his clothes as he was being submerged?
Yeah.
I don't know, some weird shit he was talking about,
Yeah,
though.
he's definitely a weird one. And he did this for an hour before walking home to eat dinner with his mom and his
Oh yeah,
sisters.
he had got a chicken and told his mom to cook it, and then he went and did this, and
goes
then went
right
back
back.
home to eat it.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot
man.
about
Yeah.
the chicken. Yeah.
Come on, I got some shit to do tonight.
Yeah,
You mind cooking this? I'll be back for dinner in a little while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be back.
'Cause I believe it was a little bit of a train ride there, wasn't it?
Something like that. Yeah.
But he was gone about an hour and 15 minutes when he got back. Supper was ready.
Yeah, that's
God
crazy. But months before Patrick breaks into the priest's home and steals the check, we already did that. So yeah, I mean, he's just a fucking awful dude. I mean, he fucking steals a check and escalates into beating this guy to death with a fucking axe or a hatchet. Now, Chris, I'm not sure if you saw the doc I watched, The Real Crimes, where they had that cop on.
Didn't see it, no.
The interviewer, which is cool, but he actually had the axe there, the hatchet.
Yeah.
And he said that the man's brains were still on the blade.
Yeah.
I'm like,
There was
seriously? Like,
tape on the handle. It still
yeah,
had
it was
blood on
the
it.
blood on it. I'm like, you're just carrying this around like this?
Yeah, bro.
What the fuck?
Had the,
Best
it actually
Halloween
had
prop
the
ever.
evidence tag on it still, too.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking that's like really fucked up that it's just like out, like I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that'd
only
be-
been
just
50
wild.
years.
I
It's
guess.
okay.
I guess it's just stuck there, but it just seemed gross. But 50 years of it, But with Mackay spilling the beans to the police, they start piecing shit together. Bunch of unsolved crimes, and I'm not sure how much of that shit was real.
Yeah.
And what was like that Henry Lee Lucas syndrome stuff,
Give me Pall Malls and goddamn strawberry milkshakes.
That's
I'll tell you
right.
anything you want to hear.
That's right. And but Mackay admitted to at least 6 other murders. One of them involved asking a cashier for some free smoke. He told him no. Mackay kicked the man to death behind the counter like fucking Sopranos fucking style shit.
Takes a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted, bro.
Yeah, fuck
Your
you.
wife cost you a pack of
Yeah.
cigarettes.
I can see Michael drunk and pissed off. Tell me you can't.
Right?
Kicking somebody to death
Motherfucker, I
for a
just want
pack of cigarettes. My God. And also read that it involved a metal bar. So I heard one account that he beat him with a metal bar. And then I heard
Is that
another
like-
kind of him kicking to death. Either way, it's fucking sick.
Is that like Reggie's or the Forge or something? A metal bar?
Nice. But Joey, the cops think that there could have been 11 total, though, dude.
Yeah, they prosecute him for 3 because they know that they had like the closest fucking convictions with those, the best evidence and shit.
Right.
But they talk about there were things that he brought up on other confessions that he had that definitely linked him. He knew information on certain things that only the killer would have known. So there were some that they knew that he definitely did do. They didn't close out all the cases. There were others that he talked about that they couldn't corroborate or possibly didn't believe at all. Because he did. He started, running his mouth a bit, trying to fucking tell everything he could. But,
Yeah.
I don't know. He definitely. I think the ballpark's probably pretty close to the amount that he had, probably around 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but
You just know. You don't know. Yeah.
So there's one of these confessions he made involved a 17-year-old au pair who he stabbed to death on a train and then threw her off the fucking car. That was confirmed.
Right. That's just fucked
Another
up.
was a drunken homeless man that he threw off a bridge, but they were never able to find him, although there was like a staggering amount of people that drowned in that river that were homeless people.
Matched
So
that description. That
yeah,
I couldn't-
so it could have been one of them, don't know. And then the grandmother and her 7-year-old grandson, that one was horrible. So he had a wide range of victims, and he was like a fucking leech. He would get out of them what he could and then fucking just discarded the fucking bodies. Just whatever. Just didn't even give a fuck. And some involve robberies, but, he kept a lot of the items, which would, of course, come back to haunt him when the cops found some of it back at his apartment. So, they
Always
really
gotta
had
keep shit.
they had a pretty solid case on him. Yeah, the memento thing.
And what funny thing was, what led to it was Tappenden, the cop, remembered him stealing that check from the priest, and that's what led to all him being caught for all this stuff.
Right.
He remembered that, and as soon as they saw that murder, he said it's got to be him.
Yeah, that guy was a beast, man.
He's like,
he
hold on
really
a second.
was. He really
Yeah,
was.
if he never would have stole that check,
He might have gone longer.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they had Collin, with the defense here, the concept of diminished responsibility. We talked about that with Nico Clo, that he did less time because of that. And what do you think about that here, Collin?
It's definitely possible. I mean, he's been in and out so many times. They know
Right.
there's mental problems with him, so I think that probably made him a little more lenient on him than
Yeah.
Yeah, having the mental problems, I could see like a jury or the judge like with their sentence be like, I feel bad for doing this to this guy.
Yeah,
Fucking-
but there's no death penalty,
there's
so
so much-
that's off the table, at least that. But yeah, I mean, you know, if the court over in the UK, from what I watched, if the court doesn't feel they're able to be cured, then they don't put them in a hospital. So you're only put in Broadmoor, which was the well-known hospital there,
Yeah.
to be cured. They're not going to put you there like indefinitely, because if that's the case, you're going to prison. So that's pretty fucked up. But, you know, that's how they do it. And there's some drama with Mackay retracting his confession for a few of the murders. So that's a little back and forth. And that's how they end up convicting him on 3 of the victims, knowing, you know, he's likely responsible for 11. But the result is going to be the same. Because without the death penalty, this motherfucker gets the life sentence. But he does get, and this is probably where the diminished capacity or diminished responsibility comes in, that he would be eligible for parole after 20 years. So,
Right.
you know, he
he's
has
still-
hope to get out, right?
Yeah, there's a chance, quote.
Right. Like Dumb and Dumber, right? So you're saying, there's a chance.
Yeah.
So he's been repeatedly denied parole. The doctors say he's a threat still at the age of 71, but I don't expect he's going anywhere anytime soon. But we're going to get into the most current update with him, which is kind of crazy. But Chris, the Mackay defense of insanity does not work, does it?
No, they say just because he's fucking diagnosed with as a psychopath. And like he also showed signs that he knew what the fuck he was doing. He knew
Right.
what was wrong.
Right.
Like, and you have to put that on the table. Like, just because you have these mental issues doesn't
Right.
mean this part of your brain isn't working the way it's supposed to. And it definitely is.
Right. Yeah.
And it's you got to go with that.
Yeah, and they end up convicting him of manslaughter due to that diminished responsibility.
And he's
So
in prison.
he's still there. So he spent time in Hull Prison, which is a unit that was designed to deal with the most dangerous inmates.
Yeah,
But-
was he? I swear I saw like 2 or 3 places. Was he in prison with fucking goddamn Charles Bronson?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't
That
doubt
would
it, but
be
I don't
great.
remember which prisons Bronson was in.
I don't either offhand.
But it's very possible that they crossed paths. But he was eventually put in an open prison in 2017. Of course, as he gets older, they kind of loosen things up. He was, I think, a model prisoner. The possibility to get day releases, but the doctor says fuck no, because they were still thought he was a threat. But he continues to try to get parole, keeps getting denied. Especially when some new investigations open up, about the possible other crimes of Mackay, and so they kind of put a hold on everything. And then last year they started to let him out on day passes, which is fucked up.
I thought that was crazy. It's
Yeah,
like,
he's seen in a London bus station. He's in the open prison in Gloucestershire called HMP Layhill. And so, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that this guy is being let out on day passes, even at 71. I mean, like Collin and I were talking about before the show,
Yeah,
he's in pretty good shape
Yeah.
still for an older guy,
Yeah, and every psychiatrist, any doctor that's ever had anything to do with him said there's absolutely no reason he should ever be out.
out in society.
Right.
It's happening.
Yeah, and he's got a new name now, David Groves. So that's his new name.
All right.
He is, according to this that I read, the Britain's longest serving
I
inmate.
saw that,
But I
yeah.
know
47.
Bronson was up there too, so they got to be pretty close. Got to be pretty close. But anything to add to this one, guys? Old Patrick Mackay, the devil's disciple.
I got nothing, man. I'm cool.
Anybody got anything else?
no.
Okay.
I think we pretty much covered it.
Well, I did my research by watching the Real Crimes documentary on this guy. I also used Wikipedia and Murderpedia for some additional stuff. There's not a ton on him, but there is a book, I don't have this, called Psychopath by Tim Clark, and then another one, Britain's Forgotten Serial Killer by John Lucas. I don't have that either. And there is a documentary, which I did watch, I had to get the 7-day free trial of BBC, whatever, but it was worth it. It doesn't cost you anything, but check this out on Amazon Prime, Confessions of a Psycho Killer. Really, really good. It's like 90 minutes, but it's worth, your free trial, and then you can cancel it and you're good. You don't have to pay anything. So check that out if you want to do some digging on your own. Next week, we're going to be doing one that's been on the list for a long time.
Yes, it is.
And we're going to be talking about false confessions. We're going to have Tex on with us, and possibly, I still have to work out the nitty-gritty, a surprise co-host with us, with Tex, and a surprise guest. But we'll leave that to a surprise for next week. That should be an interesting one. We watch all those police interrogations. I mean, Joey, I know you love that shit. I love it. Chris, you dig that stuff. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so that'll be interesting to talk about the whole concept of false confessions, because it is a real thing.
Hell yeah.
Now, Joey, what about some page a days for us?
I got some page a day. I had to pick through them and shit because of, we've actually been gone for a few weeks and shit.
Oh, yeah, because,
But luckily they did it.
Forgot about Ted
Yeah,
Bundy.
we did a bonus and then the Ted Bundy, yeah. So anyway, I just chose a few of them. They also did a really long thing on the Oakland County child killer, which we talked about that before, and up here by where I live and shit, with the sex island and shit. Pedophile.
Yeah, I remember you talking. Yeah.
Fuck it. Yeah, that case is all fucked up. Children of the Snow, the documentary, in case anybody seen that knows what I'm talking about. But so for page a day today, this one was pretty funny. This is one of the ones, weird cases. South Dakota had a case where there was a woman who got arrested because she had 15 cats that were living with her in her car, and they were impounded after she nearly crashed the car because they were obstructing her view.
My God. That car had a stink so fucking bad I can't even imagine.
Oh, God.
That's awful.
The South Dakota Supreme Court ruled the seizure was justified, so they took her cats. Now, in Pennsylvania, there was a 1958 Plymouth sedan, and this is for real. The case is called One Plymouth Sedan versus Pennsylvania, 1965, and it was, and it was a Supreme Court search and seizure case. But yeah, it's fucking on the records as that. In Nebraska, they confiscated a 1970 two-door sedan Rambler, which is a Gremlin. And that was because the Nebraska Supreme Court ruled the seizure of the man's Gremlin after he was arrested for drug possession was warranted. So they took his car. They took his goddamn Gremlin.
Jesus Christ, man. They be just repoing everything.
Oh, yeah. Now, this was one of the craziest things. This is the last one that was seized or impounded. The United States seized 64,695 pounds of shark fins.
Wow.
God
the
damn.
U.S. Coast Guard, they seized 32 tons of shark fins from a Hong Kong-based ship off the coast of Guatemala. The U.S. Court of Appeals ordered the Coast Guard to return them, so they had to give the shark fins back.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, some weird cases. So here's one. This is the murder of Danielle Van Dam. Now, she went missing from her parents' house in San Diego, California, sometime after she went to bed February 1st, 2002. And, this is a 7-year-old girl. She goes missing. The whole neighborhood, jumps into action to try to find this girl, except for David Westerfield, who was the Van Dam's neighbor from across the street. He packed up his RV and fled. And a few days later, he came back after dropping off some bedding and a blood-stained jacket and cleaning his RV. He was arrested on February 22nd, 5 days before the body was located, along with Van Dam's blood and fingerprints, which were both found on Westerfield's jacket and in his RV. The key DNA evidence in this case was actually the hair from the Van Dam's family dog, and that was on Westerfield's comforter. So police argued that the dog hair had been on Van Dam's pajamas when she was abducted. Yeah. Right, and he was convicted of kidnapping and murder and sentenced to her death. Now, that leads to this other thing they were talking about page today, which I thought was pretty interesting. This is from Christina Lindquist, and she's a director of forensics at the University of California Davis Veterinary Genetics Laboratory, which is the only accredited DNA animal forensic lab in the U.S.
Wow.
But she says the unique thing about animal hair is that dogs and cats groom themselves, so they are putting saliva on the shaft of the hair. We're more likely to find DNA on animal hair than human hair because animal saliva is individual. Then animal DNA can be used as one of the pieces of the evidence puzzle.
Interesting.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
I got two more. This one is one of the identified Jane Does that they talk about, page a day. February 26, 2007, two men reported to police that they saw what they thought were charred legs at the entrance to a warehouse in Gary, Indiana. The first responders found what appeared to be a badly burned body of a young woman. She had been burned post-mortem. She had more than 170 scars all over her face and body in various stages of healing, indicating that she had been suffering long-term abuse. So she was Jane Gary Doe, and she was unidentified until August 7th, 2015, so 8 years later, when her sister calls the police in Gary and identifies her as Erica Hill. Erica was just 15 when she died after years of physical abuse and starvation by her mother, Taylin Hill. Taylin went to great lengths to dispose of Erica's body and prevent identification, but her the sister, though, Erica, along with several other siblings, they were all abused by Taylin, unfortunately, but they contacted police in hopes of ending her abuse towards the other children. And in 2016, Taylin pleaded guilty to charges including abuse, neglect, and she was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Wow.
All right. So this one, I don't even know what to make of this one.
Like, I had to reread the murder of the other kid.
Huh? Well, no. She just got the 20 years for abuse and neglect. That's what it said. So yeah, apparently they fucking maybe they didn't feel that they had enough of a case to pin that on her, or maybe that was part of her plea agreement. Yeah. So this is the last one from Page a Day, and like I said, I had to reread this one a couple times because this is a mind fuck confusing. But March 2012. A Pittsburgh man robs a woman of $60 right after she steps off a bus. And apparently he mistook the crime for a love connection because later on he calls the woman twice to ask her out on a date. Now,
wow.
The police launch a search for the suspect, which that didn't last long. He's picked up after it was reported that he was assaulting two women outside a nearby market. And who were the victims? The woman he'd robbed and tried to woo and her old mother. The dude was
what an idiot.
The dude was charged with robbery and assault. That's so fucking crazy.
Page a Day. Gotta love some Page a Day. That's good stuff there, Joey.
Fucking moron.
Wow. Well, we have done our fair share of murdering tonight. I think it's time to crank it up and talk about some heavy metal. So, Collin, what the hell do we need to do?
Let's get our metal on. CK has passed on,